What's going on, everybody? That's Mitchell Battle dancing over there. I'm Jordan McKelly, and welcome to episode 7 of Cover Your Balls. A lot to cover today. Got a lot of college football to get into. You're going to see our picks for this week's matchups in the NFL. We have a guest coming on, Mitch, today, Sam Summers. He is a reoccurring guest from last week. Really excited. A lot of stuff to get into. But
fan favorite. Got a lot of good pub, and let's keep in mind, Sam was 4-0 on this Cover Your Balls picks last week.
It's pretty impressive.
He's a man of many talents. He will be a reoccurring guest, and he has a big surprise in store for us next Thursday. But hey, we got to cover today, and then we got to cover their balls on Tuesday too.
Yeah. Oh, also, we might have a guest coming in the first 30 minutes for college football. We'll see. We're going to see if we can get them on the line. But hey, Mitch, before we start anything, let's get into the big thing of the day. And for anybody who's watched us so far, at 4, we do a top 4 at 4. In our top 4 at 4 today, Mitch, can you tell them our top 4 at 4 today?
Our top 4 today is our top 4 movies.
You got it.
And not our worst movies. Although, Jordan, I got to tell you what the worst movie of all time I've ever seen was.
What is it?
Gone Girl.
You didn't like Gone Girl? I loved Gone Girl.
It was the most atrocious movie I've ever seen. The ending was the
man.
most frustrating ending of a movie I've ever seen. Gone Girl was, I watched it, and those are 2 hours of my life I'll never get back.
Yeah, but they did that on purpose. They wanted you to leave with the feeling like that's how I feel when I'm watching Game of Thrones. When I used to watch Game of Thrones, like I'd be so frustrated, but I'd be like, they did exactly what they wanted to do, and that's to make me so upset.
Well, you know, I'm already upset enough. This is the first time I'm not upset around this time of the year because the Browns are good. But either way, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's do our top 4 movies at 4. I'll let you go first.
Oh, okay. So this was tough for me, guys, because I feel like I didn't have as much time to think about my top 4 as I wanted to. So work with me here. At number 4, I have Happy Gilmore.
Oh, it's a good one.
I know. At number 3, I have Warrior. For anybody who is a fan of UFC, you'd love Warrior. Number 2, I have Dark Knight. You could really have picked any 3 in that trilogy. They were all good. And at number 1, I'm a nerd. I have Lord of the Rings 2 Towers. Unbelievable movie. You can't beat it. That is my top 4 at 4, Mitch.
That's a good list. You know, you put a lot more thought into it, but my number 1 and 2 movies have never changed over the years, but we'll start at 4. Number 4, kind of a curveball. And before we get into this, I'm not a big movie guy anyway, but I do have favorites. And number 4 is Star Wars Revenge of the Sith. It's the third one. Big fan of that movie, and I don't know if it's because it was like the first PG-13 movie I ever saw without being 13. I don't know. Rebellious. I mean, wild movie. Thanks, Mom. Number 3. Moneyball with Brad Pitt, Jonah Hill, phenomenal baseball movie. You know me, big baseball guy. That has to be number 2 or number 3. Number 2 for me is a movie from 2013 called Prisoners with Hugh Jackman in it. Quite a thriller action movie. I love it. One of my favorite movies of all time.
I hate your top 4 movies so far. Keep going.
If you know me, you know I like to quote a lot from my favorite movie of all time. And that's Step Brothers with Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly.
Man, I had a hard time leaving that out of my top 4. I love that. I love that.
There is not a time I will ever switch the channel when that movie's on. Best movie ever. I mean, there's a couple times, at least 3 times in my college career where I actually skipped class because the movie was on TV or on Netflix on the TV when I was walking out. And can't pass that movie up in my opinion.
Step Brothers is my entire undergrad. Oh man, that's all we did was quote. I don't think we said one word that we thought about that wasn't in that movie the whole year. We just communicated with sayings and quotes from Step Brothers.
That's how I can be sometimes. I know a lot of my friends, and you know some of them that are watching, probably up there in their top 4 at 4 as well. But my favorite movie of all time, easily.
Well, let's move on. I'm echoing a little bit, by the way, Mitch. I'm not sure if that's on your screen or not. But let's hop into college football, Mitch. We have a lot to talk about this week. The biggest thing maybe being that Ohio State is going to be able to possibly make it to the college football playoff. Other teams got moved around that I thought were a little wild. What did you think about this week's college football rankings?
The rankings themselves, I wasn't shocked. You knew 1, 2, and 3 weren't going to change. Ohio State clearly wasn't going to fall after a 40-plus point ass kicking of Michigan State, which is not the worst football program in the state of Michigan. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 have seemed pretty set in stone for a while. I was shocked Cincinnati fell. I know they didn't play last week, but a 2-loss Iowa State team hopping up there, and let's paint the picture a little bit. Iowa State 8-2, coming off a 42-6 win over West Virginia, but their loss this year, they've lost to Louisiana.
Yeah, the Raging Cajuns.
Coastal Carolina took care of them, and Coastal Carolina's undefeated and just beat BYU.
Mm-hmm.
Coastal did jump 5 spots to 13, which I think is still too low for a team like that. But I didn't understand how Iowa State jumps 2 spots.
Well, you know what that means, Mitch. That means, like, the reason they jumped Cincinnati, they're lining this up perfectly so that if Iowa State wins Saturday and wins the Big 12 championship against Oklahoma, they could not only jump Florida and Texas A&M, which they will do if they win the Big 12, because I don't believe Florida is going to beat Alabama. But I think Iowa State is going to jump to number 4, even if Ohio State beats Northwestern. And I think that's the only reason why you would move Iowa State up this week and put them over Cincinnati is you're positioning them in your mind already that if they win this game, they could possibly be the number 4 team in the college football playoff. And for a team that is a Big 12 champ and is 9-2, I think we're seeing we're seeing what it looks like for teams that have played less games than other teams like Iowa State. They're starting to rank games higher a little bit because, Ohio State's only played half the amount of games some teams have.
And you're not wrong with that. But do you see the same scenario happening if Oklahoma beats Iowa State in the Big 12 championship?
No,
Oklahoma
I don't.
came in at 11.
Not at all.
So the Big 12, you think the only shot the Big 12 has, and you think it's a good one, is if Iowa State beats Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship?
I think it's a lock, and I think they get the 4 seed. I think it's a lock. It wouldn't make sense to move Iowa State up this week, Mitch, if you're not positioning them for the 4 spot. And you're also positioning them to possibly jump Florida and Texas A&M. Now remember, Texas A&M doesn't have a hard game the rest of the year. They're basically done. So they're only going to have one loss, Mitch. And then so when you look at Florida, well, guess who Florida's one loss is to? Texas A&M by a field goal. And so what we're looking at is we're looking at a matchup between Florida and Alabama that's going to tell us a lot more, because if Alabama loses to Florida, Ohio State is most certainly out. I don't think Florida can beat Alabama. I think Alabama is the cream of the crop. But that would throw in a lot of confusion. I don't think the Notre Dame Clemson game will throw in as much confusion as the Alabama one could, because you can't leave Florida out if they win the SEC championship, and you can't. Yeah, you just couldn't put Florida. You can't put Alabama in and not put Florida because of that head-to-head matchup. No respect for Indiana or the Big Ten.
None.
Really. What they're really telling you is that they value the Big 12 much more than they value the Big Ten as well. Just with, they're not doing it with their words. Their words are where they're putting the teams for their picks. That is their words. So
actions speak louder than words.
Exactly.
It's a crime to me, in my opinion, that they're valuing Big 12 teams over Big 10 teams, because Indiana's only loss is to the number 4 team in the country.
Yeah.
Iowa State got drilled by an unranked Louisiana team at the time to start the year.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen Big 12's appearances in the college football playoff, Jordan. More like turn the channel, because that's how bad they are.
Exactly. Yeah, if you want to watch no defense and just broken coverages all over the field, tune into Big 12 football, because that's what it is. Not that it hasn't been around the whole country this year, but we're talking more on other years, not just this year. It's more common this year just because of COVID, but the Big 12 is like this every year with broken coverages, and they typically look bad. The last team to come out of the Big 12 that was a real threat was probably the team Vince Young played on. It's been a long time. I'm trying to think of another Big 12 team that I've been
But
nervous about.
and I'm not even saying I was nervous about them. The only ones I can think of that come to mind would be during the BCS era when Sam Bradford and the Sooners made the national championship, but they still should have never been on that field. But
No.
I'm just going with the point of thinking of the best Big 12 team to come out. To me, it's probably still that team. I mean, that Oklahoma team with Baker Mayfield a few years ago in the Rose Bowl against Georgia, that was a phenomenal game, but that team would not have stayed on the same field with Alabama in that national championship.
Oh no, not at
And
all.
they couldn't keep up with Georgia, and Georgia then struggled with Bama for a little bit once it got to overtime. But I just don't see it. And I just did get confirmation. We're going to have our guest on this show today, so we'll be able to talk a little more Big 12 with a Big 12 fan, and we'll get some more in depth there. But what about you? Is there somebody else down in the teens that you're looking at that you're shocked is there or shocked fell so far?
Not so much the teens as I am just so concerned with Cincinnati being at 8. What you're saying is some games some games don't matter, and it doesn't really matter who Cincinnati's played because they haven't even given Cincinnati the time of day. I don't know how you can leave a team like Cincinnati out out right now and put a team like Iowa State, who has 2 losses in front of Cincinnati. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, especially on a year where nobody's really been great with picking what teams are going to be good versus what teams are going to be bad. Outside of Notre Dame, Clemson, Ohio State, Alabama, like a lot of teams struggled this year, and so we don't really know how good Cincinnati is. And I think they're a lot better than most people think. So that game, that really bothers me. Outside of that, I thought they did a pretty adequate job of ranking teams. I didn't really have any problems with where they put anybody. I don't know what you thought.
I have a problem with Cincinnati dropping. I think the committee is holding them not playing for 2 weeks in a row against them. However, Cincinnati gets to play Tulsa. That's who they were supposed to play this weekend. They'll play them again in their conference championship game. That'll be a good one. Now, if Cincy wins, that's a win over a top 25 opponent.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens if the committee bumps them up. But I would like to see them play them twice, because if you beat Tulsa twice in a 3-week span, to me, that's impressive in itself.
It's hard to beat anybody twice.
Exactly. And then you're talking about in a 3-week span. I mean, it would have been really cool to see what happens. I think Cincinnati is a very good football team. They just don't get the respect they deserve. My only issue is, how the hell is USC 15 at 4-0?
Because they need a Pac-12 team. To be, are you talking about how good do you think USC is? Me and you haven't talked USC. How good do you think they are?
I did watch other Pac-12 games, and let me tell you, the Pac-12,
It's pretty bad.
they don't even look like they should be a Power 5 conference.
It's pretty bad.
It's
bad.
terrible.
Yeah. I mean, they have to have a Pac-12, what was it, the Pac-12, Pac-10 at this point, yeah. Around 15. I mean, they've played only 4 games. I mean, Ohio State's only played, 5? I mean, that shows you what they think of USC. I mean, they had to have one. It's one of the reasons why they have Iowa State right now at 7. Like, that's right now, that is the Big 12's best team is Iowa State. And they have 2 losses. That's their best team.
Okay, and with what you're saying, we did the college football playoff for the top 4 teams, right? That's what this is for.
Yes.
But with how you're talking and how I'm understanding it, but it's like the committee wants a representative from every conference. So why don't we just do the top 6? Every Power 5 gets a team, and then you take the first either at large or like a Cincinnati that's not in the Power 5 and do it that way.
Well, we've been talking about this, though, for years. Like, they're not going to, like, they'll eventually move to that, but me and you are in the agreement. It should be an 18 playoff. It should not be a 14 playoff, because that means somebody can go undefeated and not get a shot. Now, that has not happened yet, but it could. Well, it has happened, just not from a Power 5 conference.
Right. And it could happen again this year.
And that UCF team that bought themselves their own national championship trophy could have played. And obviously, we've seen years ago when Boise State had that run when they were doing just calling crazy plays. Like, they can play with the big boys.
Absolutely. I think Cincinnati can play with the big boys. Coastal Carolina certainly can.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, BYU is up there too, but It's the best four teams. It's not you need a representative from every conference. So pick the best four teams. Iowa State has no business being at 7. Cincinnati should be above them. I don't think Georgia has any business being at 9. The SEC bias in these rankings are unbelievable. It drives me insane that
I
these
just don't
SEC
know
teams.
who's better. They don't have, I mean, a real quarterback. I mean, that's where they're struggling, right?
Yeah, they have
So,
no quarterback.
I mean, in college football, it's, I mean, in football in general, it's important, but like at that level in the SEC, I don't know how they're ranked at, but that didn't really bother me as much.
It's probably because they have a big time win over what, like a 4-win Bo Nix led Auburn team.
Well,
Woo,
that's not
like that.
why. It's because their last 4 or 5 years. They still think they're Georgia of the past. It's been like that with Alabama, where there's been a couple of times in the past decade where they've had a really really good team and they've been number one, but they haven't been great, and then they get waxed. Like so, I don't know. I'm not that. We'll see where Georgia ends up. But it's definitely more disrespectful to Cincinnati to see another team right behind them at 2 losses. So I agree with you on that.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. I really do think that as long as Florida doesn't beat Alabama, I think Ohio State's in. I don't think Iowa State will hop Ohio State, but I don't have to worry at all if Notre Dame somehow upsets Clemson again. Because a 2-loss Clemson team won't be getting in.
No, you definitely couldn't put a 2 loss Clemson team in at all. Not even a
Especially,
little bit. You couldn't even think about it. Honest to God, even if they had Trevor, it's Clemson's lucky because even if they had Trevor Lawrence in that game, I still think they lose. Their problem was not scoring. That true freshman quarterback for Clemson is really good. He's
very good.
really good. That's not why they lost. They lost because they had some defensive players that were out, and Notre Dame controlled the line of scrimmage. They did not lose because of lack of offense. They scored like 30-something points. That guy threw for like 400 yards. So Clemson's really lucky. But if you're right, if Notre Dame beats them again, it's kaput, and then it's going to be a little easier to pick teams from there.
And then while we're waiting on, we're going to have our guest join us here shortly
Mhm.
to, look into the Big 12 championship. But I thought about this today. If Clemson beats Notre Dame, where are they at in the standings? Is the College Football Playoff Committee going to want them to play again in the semifinals,
I
or will
thought
they put them on opposite sides, but then have a potential rematch in the championship game?
I think you have to put if Notre Dame wins, I think you have to put them one.
I agree. I agree.
think
They
you
should be one.
have to put them one because no one's had 2 wins like that the whole year. And 2 wins over Clemson like that would just be unbelievable. But guess who you can't put at 2 or 3? Clemson. You can't put a 2-loss Clemson team at 3
Right,
instead of
exactly.
Ohio State. So you're right. Where do you put them? I think what you do is you leave Notre Dame at 2. And put Clemson at 3. I think you have a man. Yeah, I think. Oh man, I don't know what I think. Holy crap, that would be wild. I don't know if it'll happen. But the chances are, I guess, are decently high.
The
What?
chance is there. If Notre Dame beats Clemson, then there's no worry. But if Clemson beats Notre Dame, all of a sudden we have a chance to see them play again. Is it going to be in the semifinals or the championship?
Yeah. By the
And
way, go ahead.
no, go ahead. You're
Did you see how upset Indiana is that the Big Ten in Kevin Warren changed the rule to let Ohio State in? They were
I did. And
up in arms about it. It makes no
I have one
sense.
simple solution. There's a simple solution to it. Do you know what it is?
What's the simple solution? Head-to-head matchup?
Yeah, just beat Ohio State next time, Hoosiers. Like if you're going to cry and complain, beat them. And by the way, for the Hoosier fans that are still crying, I'm going to make you cry a little more. Even if Ohio State would have played this week and lost,
We still would have
guess
been in.
guess who's still going? The Buckeyes, because you couldn't beat us. So I don't feel sorry for you. Go cry to someone that cares. Wait, nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Like
Not
it's as
one
simple as
person.
that. Yeah, if you want to get to the Big Ten championship game, it goes through the Ohio State Buckeyes 4 years in a row, looking to become the first Big Ten team to win 4 conference championships in a row. You want to play with the big dogs, you got to beat them, and Hoosiers can't do that.
We're kind of a big deal around here. Let's go ahead and get our guest in. Go ahead and send Noah Danke that link, and let's get our guest in here. This is just our second guest ever on Cover Your Balls, and let's do this. Let's bring him in.
Our second college football guest.
Oh
'Cause
yeah, our third. We had Jake Pilata on last
But
week.
we're going to go to the defensive side of the ball this week. We're going to go to the Big 12 this week. He lives out in Big 12 country. He has seen Oklahoma live this year. He has seen Iowa State live this year, because out there they're allowed to have fans because they're not afraid of this virus. And do we have him?
I think so. Let me bring him in. Trying. Give me a second.
Oh, you got all the time you want.
Man.
Either way, he's a four-year.
I'm not Joe
football
Rogan.
player.
We don't have somebody to do this for us. We are the production team.
But if you'd like to be part of the production team, you can let us know. But
I'm trying to get him in here. There he
he is there now.
Boomer Sooner, baby.
The man himself, live from Oklahoma City, our Big 12 representative, Noah Danke.
Weather is great,
Noah, how
I'll
you
tell
doing?
you that. Oh, living the dream, just got off a conference call, but, I had to fit time in for this call because, long-time listener, first-time caller.
Well,
Right,
Noah, it's good to have you on.
I appreciate you.
Give you a little cowbell.
I gave you a little cowbell there, but Noah, let's move into the hot topic in Oklahoma. And no, we're not talking about the surging Oklahoma City Thunder. We're talking about the Sooners versus the Cyclones next week in the Big 12 championship game. Noah, I had mentioned before you got on here, you've seen both teams live this year. So one, what do you think about the rematch? And two, give us something to look for.
I mean, seeing both teams live, Hulu does have live sports now, but it's not the same as being in person. I got to see the Cyclones play up at Oklahoma State, so got to see them play on the road and got to see Oklahoma play a shitty Kansas team at home. Oh, sorry, we're on the air, can't say that.
You can say it.
Did you? We're Cover Your Balls. That's the name of this show. You say pretty
Didn't
much
know
whatever
if we're
you
getting
want.
Didn't know if we're getting any lawsuits or nothing, but just trying to cover your balls a little bit.
Yep.
But if you look at Oklahoma's schedule, their last loss was at Iowa State. Since then, Spencer Rattler has gone on a tear. He turned it around. The next week, I believe, was at Texas for that 4-overtime thriller. And you look at his numbers since that Iowa State game. He's really turned that team around. But you can't sleep on Iowa State. The Fighting Matt Campbell's coming to Dallas. I believe it's being played in Dallas, if I'm correct. You guys know?
It is. You are correct. And shout out Matt Campbell, 330.
Yeah, I was rooting for Iowa State in that game versus Oklahoma State, but it came down to a last-second onside kick. They didn't get it, but hey, what can you do? It's the Big 12.
So what do you think about Iowa State? Tell us something we don't know about them, because we have no idea why they're ranked. Well, I understand why they're ranked where they're at, but I don't understand why in terms of their play. Like, what stands out that makes them the best Big 12 team and makes them like 7th in the country? Because I don't understand it.
I'm going to be frankly honest. I don't know either. But, you look at week 1, they get upset by, what was that, Louisiana Lafayette, and everyone kind of counted them out. And you rip off 3 straight wins, a win versus Oklahoma at home, and then you come to Iowa State, and that's your first conference loss, and everyone's looking at the Big 12 at this point and saying, well, Texas is out, Oklahoma's out, and Iowa State's your favorite. And it's kind of a little shocker there that Iowa State is the front runner of the Big 12, but Oklahoma's going to get their – and I think – it's hard to beat a team twice in the same year, but I think the Sooners are going to roll them.
Ooh. Well, I'm excited to watch that game. Mitch, what do you got for Noah?
I don't know. I just know this is going to be a high-scoring game because, like we touched on, there's no defense in the Big 12.
Well, there's
Purdy,
no defense anywhere right now. Let's make sure
right.
we say that. It's not just the Big 12 just this year. It's everybody.
Well,
the MAC is scoring at least 130 points a game between two teams. That's 65 points apiece.
There's
how
one
much-
team
You look at the
here.
Big 12 this year, and the defense has kind of been there. A little bit different from – it's been a crazy year. It's 2020 COVID, but you kind of look at the defense. Oklahoma has a top 5 defense. Like, when does that ever happen?
It doesn't.
Exactly. So who knows what's going to happen? But you got a more experienced Spencer Rattler now. If you look at that game, That was his third start as a quarterback for the Sooners. 25 of 36, 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a late interception to end the game.
Yeah, he's a
So
stud. He's just going to get better.
I think he's improved over these 2 games because, Oklahoma, kind of like Ohio State, you don't lose 2 games.
Yeah.
It's true. I look at this as who is the better head coach. Now, Lincoln Riley has been to a lot of big games, can't deliver. I think Matt Campbell's a better head coach than Lincoln Riley, and I'm going to say that with confidence.
Wow, that's
I
a
would
hot
take
take.
Matt Campbell to lead my team right now. And you have the senior quarterback in Brock Purdy. I think the Cyclones get it done. I think they'll beat Oklahoma, who I think this is their down year compared to years past, obviously. I like the Cyclones. And yeah, I like the Cyclones by plus 7.5.
Wow.
Okay.
But I do want to ask Noah the question you posed to me earlier, Jordan, about Iowa State. If they win this, do they hop up and get in the top 4? That was your question, so I'll let you ask Noah to get his thought.
Yeah, exactly what Mitch just said. If Iowa State wins Saturday against Oklahoma, do they potentially get in over a potential 6-0 Ohio State team after the Big Ten championship? Even if both teams win their championships, who is more worthy, Ohio State at number 4 or Iowa State at number 4?
And this is when Ohio State wins Big Ten championship?
Yes, because they will, because Northwestern's not good.
I think you can't put a 2-loss team in there, and you got to put an undefeated conference champion Ohio State in over a Big 12 team. Either way, regardless of what team wins this game, they're going to have 2 losses. And you look at Oklahoma's resume. If they win, you have a bad loss to Kansas State and then a loss to Iowa State, but you got revenge in the Big Ten championship. I just don't think that's enough to push them over. I mean, even Florida, Texas A&M, Cincy, and then Iowa State. You lose to Oklahoma State, and then I think the worst loss for them is that Louisiana Lafayette. You just can't put them in.
Yeah, no, I agree. It just scared me when they put them over top of Cincinnati this past week because I was like, well, there's no other reason to put Iowa State and rank them above Cincinnati unless you have plans of potentially sticking them in at number 4, because Iowa State is going to hot Florida and Texas A&M, no doubt, if they win this next weekend. And Texas A&M can't get better because they don't play. I'm pretty sure their game is done.
Yep, Ole Miss was canceled this week.
And so they're just sitting there idle. Florida has to beat Alabama. So to me, it looks like Iowa State is right there. And if they're not ranked number 4, and they don't get in over the Buckeyes, they will be at worst 5.
I just don't think. I mean, looking at the committee from years past, I don't think a 2-loss team has made the playoffs. If I'm correct.
No, but they also haven't played 5 games more than a potential other team. So I think we're starting to understand how much these games actually matter with Iowa State moving up.
But
I
you know
don't
who to blame if this happens?
Kevin Warren. Yeah.
Because he gave the Big Ten no wiggle room for any mistakes, where Iowa State, Oklahoma, the Big 12, the ACC, the SEC was given a full slate of schedule of games to, one, if you lose early, you can redeem yourself later in the year, like we saw with Ohio State in 2014 against Virginia Tech. Or if you get a game canceled, you can shuffle your schedule around. This falls squarely on Kevin Warren, the commissioner of the Big Ten, who has dropped the ball. He wasn't covering his balls. He dropped his ball
all on the ground.
And blew all out. And you saw them trying to fix the rules for Ohio State, which, yes, I'm happy they did that. It's the right thing to do. But if Ohio State goes 6-0 and Iowa State hops them, you put this solely on Kevin Warren and the Big Ten. They screwed up by canceling the season way too early.
Well,
and they tried to get back to them.
I wouldn't even be mad at the committee if that happened.
No, I can understand it. Now that we're talking about it, and it's not me just running thoughts through my head, I can see it happening. And that's what is now starting to worry me.
Yeah, it's definitely territory that no one's been in before. So that's the first thing I think of is don't expect anything to happen, because like you should have zero expectations, because there is nothing to look at in the past and say, well, this happened, so this is what's going to happen. We've never been through a pandemic like this in the middle of a college football season. No one really knows what's happening, which is why it's so important that we look at the college football rankings closely every week to kind of see what the committee is telling us, because they don't come out and actually tell us verbally what they think about these teams. They rank them, and then obviously they get our thoughts after. So I guess we'll see what happens after this weekend, but I'm a little nervous.
You know, shame on him for trying to be the leader of all of this and be the first program to cancel, and then everyone was like, well, we're going to do our own thing then. Sucks to be you guys.
Well, what bothered me is the Ivy League did it first. And so since they had a knee-jerk reaction, the Big Ten didn't have to have one. They could have thought through this a little more. And that's what Ohio State was trying to tell them. Like, hey, just don't do anything yet. Let's figure this out together, because nobody really knows. And the SEC figured it out. Everybody else figured it out. I mean, no player, to my knowledge, has passed away from this, correct? Nope. They've done a terrific job. And not just because they've done a terrific job, because we know who's more likely to be affected by COVID. That's another reason. So, Noah, thanks for coming in today. Before you leave, though, we need to hear your picks. We need to hear your projected ending top four.
Top four?
Top six. Top six. The first two out. So what will the College Football Playoff Committee have for the top 6 teams on December 20th?
Let me pull up the rank and see what we're working with right now. So SEC championship is probably going to be what? Alabama and Florida?
That is SEC championship game.
SEC championship. So I hope Notre Dame beats Clemson, so that way Clemson's out of it. But I think Clemson's going to get revenge, and they're going to put Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Notre Dame. Oh, man. 5. What do you say, top 6?
Top 6.
Yep, top 6. So your top 4 and the first 2 out.
We'll go leave probably Florida at 6. We'll throw Cincy or Florida at 5, Cincy at 6.
Okay.
I think Luke Fickell could be happy with that at the end of the season. I think he'd be okay with that. Mitch, what do you
Jordan, got? Oh, I'll go. I'm going off what I think is going to happen and what I'm banking on. And so that means I'm going to put Notre Dame at 1. That means they beat Clemson in the ACC championship. I have Bama at 2. The Clemson loss knocks them out. I have them falling to 5. So number 3 is the Ohio State University. And then number 4, I think we're going to see 2 teams from the same conference in the college football playoff. And I think Florida's going to get in. I think Florida will play Bama very tough. I think it could be decided by less than 1 score. And I think the committee will take a 2-loss Florida team, as crazy as it sounds, over a 2-loss Iowa State team. So I have Iowa State finishing 6, Clemson 5, Florida, Ohio State, Bama at 2, Notre Dame at 1.
Wow. You guys are a little all 3 of ours are different. At number 6, I have coming in Texas A&M. They don't have another game to play. They'll remain idle. Their 1 loss is to Bama, so they're going to stay right there. At number 5, I have Ohio State. Ohio State will not make the top 4 because at number 3, I have Iowa State. I think Iowa State's going to win Saturday, and I think the Cyclones are going dancing. At number 3, I have Notre Dame. Notre Dame's going to lose to Clemson, and the committee's going to basically tell us that Trevor Lawrence was the difference, even though both of them will have 1 loss and 1 win against each other. Clemson's going to be at 2. Notre Dame's going to be at 3. In Bama, Mitch, did they get any smaller from last week? No, they didn't. They're still huge. Bama's number 1. That's my top 6. Noah, thanks for coming in, brother. This was fun. This is going to happen again.
This will happen. I think he's muted.
He might be. I don't know.
Well, technical difficulties.
All right.
Noah? Horns down.
Yep. Shout out to Noah Danke for being our guest for our college football segment. Guys, we're going to switch it up, and we are going to go into the NFL. Mitch, there's a lot of stuff to talk about. We also have a guest coming in later in the segment, Sam Summers.
Right, but we're not going to the NFL just yet.
Why are we doing that?
It's halfway through the show. It's time for the half-hour headlines.
Do it.
All right, here we go. Jordan, we'll start it off here. We'll start off with a big topic that I know you want to talk about. We can come back and touch on it later in the show if we want, but good friend of the show, extremely overrated basketball player, Paul George signed a max extension with the Clippers. He will now be with them for the next 5 years for $226 million. Your thoughts on this?
I think everybody knows my thoughts on Paul George from Tuesday. I think Paul George is hot garbage. I don't understand how you don't deliver in the playoffs yet again, and you get a contract extension 4 years, $190 million. For you guys out there who aren't quick at math, that's almost $48 million a year, correct? Right? 47 and a half?
Is that good?
I think it's good. That's ridiculous. That makes me cringe.
I couldn't believe it when I saw it on the news today, but hey, it's their money, not ours. So
Unbelievable.
Moving on, Jordan. We're going to talk baseball really quick. An actual baseball. Nobody's hitting their wives or girlfriends. Randy Arozarena is still out of the news. Buster Olney of ESPN released yesterday on ESPN Cleveland during an interview. The front runners for Francisco Lindor appear to be the New York Mets and the Toronto Blue Jays, and said that the package is not overwhelming at all. Take your time. I mean, we're getting rid of the second best player on the team, third best player on the team, honestly, if you ask me. I mean, still have Bieber, still have Jose. I mean, we're not going to get anything back for him, for anyone that's still listening. He pulls out the jersey.
That's so sad. I don't get to wear this anymore? Or do I have to wear it until he leaves? This means I have to get another Cleveland jersey. Everybody who comes to Cleveland, it doesn't matter what sport they're in, they always leave. This is why I should get my last name on the back of a jersey.
That's what I did. And then I got a jersey with no name on the back because then, I mean, we're good. But Jordan, would you rather see him go to a team in the NL or stay in the AL? And
I want him to go to Toronto. I want him to go to Toronto, and I want the Blue Jays to annihilate the Yankees and the Red Sox. If there's one place that I would want him to go, I'd want him to go there. I don't want New York to have him. Because then I'm going to have to hear it on the news all the time, and I'll have to be reminded of the love of my life that I lost.
It is rumored that he hates the city of New York, by the way. There are multiple.
I don't doubt that at all. Wholesome guy.
He does. Yeah. So it'll be a sad day when that happens, but until then, he's still a Cleveland Indian and our third best player. But either way, moving on, quickly, the Browns' Week 16 game against the New York Football Giants was flexed to prime time. When's the last time you have seen a Browns game flexed to prime time and not out of prime time?
Never, ever. You know how mad Jerry Jones is right now? Jerry Jones is so upset that the Cowboys got moved. I, honest to God, think Jerry Jones is more upset, Mitch, about them getting moved out of prime time for the Browns, or any team for that matter. I think he cares more about that than he does about losing. I think that bothers him more than every loss he's had this year. Because he knows he's losing it now.
And he realizes his team is no longer America's team because America's new team was
the
just
Browns.
flexed in the Sunday Night Football. So, hey, get on the bandwagon. Just kidding. We don't want you if you're no.
Yeah, we're
leave.
not accepting
Either way.
registrations for new fans at this time.
Yeah, no. And if you say you're a Baker fan and he plays poorly and then you don't want him anymore, then you're not a fan either. So you can leave too. Either way, today, Time Magazine named their 2020 Athlete of the Year, and Jordan, to no surprise, it was the one and only LeBron James. Are you surprised?
I really am. Based off of a contract extension that was just signed, I would have thought that person was Paul George because he just signed $190 million. So, no. Playoff P. Unbelievable. No, I'm not surprised. He's been the best athlete in the world for 15 years now. Not surprised, never surprised when LeBron's leading in anything.
I completely agree. ESPN has we touched on their player rankings, the top 100 the other day with Lonzo Ball coming at 51. Their top 10 drop, Jordan. And I will read you the top 10. 10 is Nikola Jokic for the Nuggets.
Okay.
9 is James Harden, who was 4th at this time last year. 8, Steph Curry. 7, Dame Lillard. 6, Kevin Durant. 5, Kawhi Leonard. 4, Luka Doncic. 3, Giannis. 2, Anthony Davis, and number 1, LeBron James. Now, I don't think you and I have an issue with who's at number 1. Do you have an issue with 2 through 10 though?
There's a couple that are head scratchers. Anthony Davis, not on LeBron's. Anybody who plays with LeBron, we all know that their skills are amplified and they're better with LeBron. LeBron makes everybody better. Like when Kyrie Irving played with LeBron, Kyrie Irving was a top 5 player in the NBA. But when he played without LeBron, I don't think he was a top. Like if I had to start a franchise, he wouldn't be in my top 30. Top what 30? There's 30 teams. Like
Yeah,
I don't
30
think
teams.
I don't think he's a number 1, and I don't think Anthony Davis is a number 1 either. I think the only reason he's 2 is because he's on a teammate on a team with LeBron James. You know what? The James Harden one, and that doesn't surprise me at all because I don't think James Harden's a top 5 player. A 9 sounds around where I would put him. I don't think he's better than Dame Lillard though. I think if you put them on the same team, I think James Harden's team is better.
Yeah, they took playoff success into it too, and James Harden has a knack for disappearing in the big moment. Dame Lillard has a knack for showing up in the big moment, as we've seen. So,
Hold on. James Harden was 1 game away from the NBA Finals. Dame Lillard got swept in the Western Conference Finals. So if we're gonna say one chokes and one doesn't, let's not act like James Harden.
Basketball is a team game, right?
It is a team game. How is 3 games better than 0 games in the Western Conference Finals? Which one's better?
Yeah, 3 for sure.
Okay.
But what did James Harden do this year against the Lakers?
Well, nothing.
He doesn't show up.
Well,
And the only reason
I mean, that's
the
why I have
Rockets
him at
had
9
those
now.
3 wins was because they had another guy on the team named Chris Paul who missed the last 2 games for them to choke the 3-2 series lead.
Yeah. Yes, I mean I agree, but that's why I have him around 9.
I agree. I'm just saying they took playoff success into account, and I agree that he's 9. He is not a top 5 player in the NBA. He's a great scorer, one of the best scorers in the league, but that doesn't make you one of the best players in the league.
You know what's exciting, Mitch, is that Luka is, in the top 5. In the NBA, when LeBron's gone, it's going to be Luka's. And it excites me because Luka's a top 5 player, in my opinion, and I think in most people's opinion. And that means that he's the real deal. And that means we're going to have him for a long time. That's exciting for the NBA because when LeBron leaves, that's a big hole. Like a lot of people don't think there will be, but I think it's going to be like a max exodus, like the Bible. Like he's a big chunk. It's going to kind of be like when Michael left. There was a lot of shoes to fill. So, and no one's going to be as big as him. But anywho, go ahead.
ESPN also dropped their top 50 players of all time. I'll give you 1 through 5. 1 is Michael Jordan, 2 LeBron, 3 Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, 4 Bill Russell, and 5 Irvin Magic Johnson. Tim Duncan was 8, Kobe 9, and Shaquille O'Neal 10. Do you agree with those?
I mean, Tim Duncan, in my eyes, was never like if we're talking about at their apex, like Shaquille O'Neal is a top 5 player in my eyes.
I agree.
He's never. I hate when people talk about LeBron and Kobe. I'm just like, Kobe wasn't better than Shaq. I mean, he wasn't even the best player in that era. I don't know if there was. I'm okay with the list. But Tim Duncan in front of Shaq bothers me. There's no way. What do you think? What do you got?
I personally think during the apex of their careers and their prime, Shaq is the most unstoppable player that I've ever seen. And
Hands down.
For that reason, he should be higher. Tim Duncan, though, I'm not downgrading Tim Duncan. All the top 10 are probably the top 10 of most people's lists. Yeah. But for me, Shaq should be above Tim Duncan. But Jordan, there was a couple familiar faces in the top 50. Kawhi Leonard was at 25, and James Harden was at 32 for top 50 NBA players of all time. Is it too early to put them in there? Are they too high, too low, or just right?
Kawhi Leonard is certainly I don't think he's a top 25 player. I think that's probably too high for sure. Like, yes, he's won 2 championships on 2 different teams. And yes, he was the finals MVP in both of them. But people have to remember that when he played with the Spurs, he played with Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, Tim Duncan.
Matt Bonner.
That's kind of a big deal. And he only was averaging like 14 or 16 points for that season. So he was probably their second or third option. And so it's not like he led a team in the finals. That I think he is on the outskirts of top 50, and I put James Harden there as well.
I agree. Jordan, we'll switch to football now for these last three headlines. Segment 2 of the NFL. So first, Odell Beckham Jr. appeared on Patrick Peterson's All Things Covered podcast. Didn't talk about the Browns. Talked a lot about his divorce from the New York Giants, how he, in quote, never wanted to win a championship more than New York, and how he still misses it. Does that concern you since he's out for the year? And then will he be a Cleveland Brown next season?
No, he will not be a Cleveland Brown. I was telling my mom this at the start of the season. I thought he was going to get traded. I'm honestly, I've been waiting for him to get traded. I think the only reason they didn't was because they only had a week or two after he got hurt, and it would have sent a wrong message. It wasn't the right to. I mean, you're going to have time later on to trade him, and I'm not even bothered by it. I don't feel like that's like him backstabbing us at all. I understand why he would want to do it in New York, and I understand about unfinished business. Plus, we don't fit his scheme, so I think we should do. I think it will be very amicable when he breaks off from the Browns, and I think it will be the only time in his life that he's left a place, and not cause like disarray.
I can get behind that and agree with that. So we'll stay on the topic of the Browns. The Browns have hit a new high in the NFL power rankings. According to CBS Sports, they appeared at number 6 in the NFL power rankings, behind number 1, Kansas City, 2, Pittsburgh, 3, New Orleans, 4, Green Bay, and 5, Buffalo. Pretty nice to see that. You like where they're at in those rankings?
Yeah, no, I like them a lot. The Browns weren't in my power rankings for most of the year. And it's funny, when I thought the Browns were an elite team, so did other experts. They thought the same thing. So, hey, maybe me and you are onto something. Maybe me and you know a little more than what we're talking about.
Possibly.
Hey, it feels good to not be a loser.
Yeah, it does. We're not a loser anymore.
No.
So, since we're not a loser, I need you to call your shot and give me your new adjusted win total for the Cleveland Browns with 4 games left to play. They play the Ravens Monday night, the Giants Sunday night, the New York Jets week 16, and the Pittsburgh Steelers week 17 in Cleveland. The Browns are at 9-3 right now. So, Jordan, what will the Browns finish at to end the regular season?
I'm going to shock you right now, Mitch. The Browns go 3-1 to finish out the season. They go 12-4, and they secure the 5th seed in the playoffs, which means that they will play the worst of the 4 division winners in the AFC.
I like it.
Yeah.
But we will finish 11-5.
11-5.
I think we go 2-2 to end the year.
Okay.
I just think we'll finish 2-2. I don't know where it's going to happen, but hey, 11-5 still get you in the playoffs. 10-6 will probably still get you in the playoffs with some tiebreaker scenarios. We're fine. It's just more, who do you want to play? And maybe even going 11-5 and dropping to 6 might not be that bad if that means we go to Buffalo instead of going to Tennessee or Indianapolis.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents. And that was this afternoon's half-hour headlines.
Well, Mitch, thank you for the afternoon headlines. We're going to hop right back in to football in the NFL. The Browns play the Ravens on Monday Night Football. You're going to the game. Little jealous. I'm really excited about the game. Mitch, what do you feel right now? Do you feel like the Browns are going to keep rolling? Do you feel like they're going to beat the Ravens this week? Or do you feel like the Ravens saved their playoff lives this week and go into Cleveland and get the W?
I don't know what to expect. The Browns are playing phenomenal football right now. They look like one of the hottest teams in all of the NFL. I wonder what the mental side of it will be. You're playing a team that you lost to 38-6, I believe, in week 1. I mean, blew your doors off in the first quarter. You're playing a team that has won 2 straight against you since you went into their place last year and won. You're playing a team that has everything to lose. Their backs are against the wall. One more loss pretty much eliminates them from playoff contention, you'd think, since they won't win their division.
Well, and they're in the 9th seed right now, and only
correct.
7 get in, and they're seeded 9th.
Exactly. They're playing for their playoff lives. That makes the team really dangerous, in my opinion. They looked good Tuesday, but they also played the Cowboys. Like, let's stop overreacting. I'm pretty sure I could have scored that 30-some yard touchdown run that Lamar Jackson had because he parted the defense like the Red Seas. It's not that hard to do against the Cowboys. I just play with them on Madden. I mean, my God. Helen Keller is their defensive coordinator, I think. But either way, it's going to be a really good game. I think this might be one of the best primetime games of the year, and I think it'll be back and forth. I just don't know which way I'm leaning yet. I know we're going to call or make our picks later in the show, but I'm going to be right up until we make our pick. But the thing that scares me is that the Ravens have everything to lose, and the Browns know where they're at and are comfortable, or might think they're comfortable. I'm not saying they are, but Kevin Stefanski will have these guys ready, and that's a reassuring thing for me.
Yeah, I don't really know what to expect this Sunday. I expect it to be as tough of a game as any have been. But I think the Browns are legit. I think they're feeling themselves. And not feeling themselves in a way where it's like, oh, man, are they going to overlook the Ravens? I mean, like, feeling themselves like it's a scary thing when you start believing in yourself in any area of your life. If action followed by belief, and you can do some crazy things, and the Browns are on a tirade right now. I don't think the Ravens are going to get this win. Honest to God, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Browns win the last 4 games. I would not be surprised at all because I think every game is winnable. And honest to God, I think the Ravens and the Steelers are really nervous to play the Browns right now. And I don't think the Browns are a team that you want to play right now. They're finally starting to get healthy. The secondary isn't they're still not healthy. We're still missing guys. I'm not sure if Denzel Ward's out this week or not. Have they rolled him out yet?
They have not rolled him out yet, so that'll be seen. According to my sources, Greedy Williams is still out.
Okay. Yeah, Greedy Williams has been out for since last year. So thank you for that update, Mitch.
He's been out since he came out of the womb. That dude is literally sitting, collecting a paycheck to tweet like he did something. Like, dude, Anderson Dejo is doing more than you. And he's like, at points this year, I think he's been trying to sabotage our team.
I know. It's as long as we can have Denzel Ward play, we can miss Greedy Williams. But I think the Browns win. And with that being said, I think we start to get into this week's picks. We gave America, we gave our audience, and when I say America, all 100 people who watch Cover Your Balls, thank you. If you bet off our picks last week, you won a lot of money. We're going to go into our picks, Mitch, and then we're going to go ahead and bring in our recurring guest, Sam Summers. You ready to rock?
Oh, I'm ready to rock.
All right. New England, Los Angeles, tonight. The Patriots are still in the wild card hunt. They are 6-6, and they play a Rams team that has an opportunity to really get a grip of the AFC West tonight. Who gets the W, New England or Los Angeles?
It's Los Angeles. I think the Rams, when you look on paper, who's the better football team? It's the Rams. But it's another one. Patriots are fighting for their lives. And they know with the win here and a loss Monday night for the Ravens, guess who's flipping spots? I like Patriots plus 4.5, Lions 4.5. I think this is going to be come down to the last play of the game type of scenario, but I like the Rams to win tonight. They'll improve to 9-4 and lead the NFC West.
I love it. I'm gonna go. Just gonna do a quick pick because we're gonna roll. I got New England. Bill Belichick in December, undefeated all time. No, he's lost a couple games, but not many. I'll take New England. Houston, Chicago, both are on the brink. Houston is out, basically. Chicago does have some life left in them. Does Mitch Trubisky get the Chicago Bears a win at Soldier Field?
Duh, Bears.
The Bears. All right. I'm going to rock with the Bears, too. No way. I'm going with the Houston Texans. I believe in Deshaun Watson. He was just crying on the bench last week for losing a game that even if they won, didn't put them in a much better position. My point to this is Deshaun Watson wants to win every game. Dabo Swinney called him the Michael Jordan of football. Houston gets the win. Let's roll into the poop game of the week, Dallas versus Cincinnati. Dallas at Cincinnati. I'm in Columbus right now. Maybe I should go watch the two worst teams of all time play. Dallas at Cincinnati. Who gets the win, Mitch?
Jordan, tickets are $51, so I would tell you to take $51 and go burn it because you'd have more entertainment out of watching that than the shit show on the field. That's all I can say. I don't know who wins this game, but the loser is if you decide to watch this game. You're a loser if you watch this game. It's that bad. Give me Andy Dalton revenge tour.
Love to hear it. Andy Dalton revenge tour. I'll take the Andy Dalton revenge tour too. Dallas. Huge game. Kansas City at Miami, 1 p.m. Tickets as low as $200 at Hard Rock Stadium, which is one of the nicest stadiums of all time. If you haven't seen the Miami Dolphins Stadium, go on Google Images, type it in, check it out right now. Mitch, who you got? Kansas City at the Ryan Fitzpatrick's.
The Fighting Fitzpatricks? Oh, man. I'm taking Patty Mahomes, the league leader for MVP, and the Chiefs. With the Steelers' loss last week, I think they want that first-round bye. I think they're going to come out and prove it against the playoff contender because, we'll talk about the Steelers and their matchup next, but I have the Chiefs winning this.
I have Tua going out in the first quarter with a toe injury. Ryan Fitzpatrick coming into the game, throwing 5 touchdowns, and handing the Steelers back their home field advantage. What do you think of that? No. I'm going to take Kansas City. However, if Ryan Fitzpatrick gets in this game at any moment, my pick goes from Kansas City to the Dolphins immediately. I'm telling you right now.
I like that because Fitzpatrick's a better quarterback, but our listeners aren't ready for that conversation, so let's go to the next game.
Yeah, they're also not ready for Arizona at the Giants. Arizona playing for their playoff life, and man, they cannot win a game right now. And they're playing a team that you and I, for 5 weeks now, have said is rolling, and that's the New York Giants at MetLife Stadium. Who's getting that win?
The G-Men.
Ooh.
The Giants are winning. They're playing good football. The Cardinals are traveling back to the East Coast for a 1 p.m. Eastern kickoff. This year, they have not traveled well to the East, so that's just another reason I'm taking the G-Men to move to, 6 and 7.
Yeah. Well, here's my question for you. Is it possible for Colt McCoy to get another win, or is Daniel Jones starting this week?
Colt McCoy, Daniel Jones, Mark Sanchez, Ben DiNucci, Trace McSorley. I don't care who it is. Giants by 10.
Wow. Not with Ben DiNucci. I'll take Arizona. Kyler Murray gets him back on track. New York, a tough place to play. If Colt McCoy plays, he's not going to win a second game. Colt McCoy's lucky to be in the NFL still.
Hey, he got a dub last week, but what if it was Deshaun Kaiser at quarterback?
Deshaun Kaiser is one of the worst Browns quarterbacks of all time. I'll take Arizona. Let's move on to maybe one of the more impactful games of this week that not many people have been talking about this week in the media, which is Minnesota at Tampa Bay. Just a game separates both of those teams, Minnesota being 6-6 and Tampa being 7-5. Who gets this win?
This is going to be a real good game, Jordan. A team you've been high on all year in the Vikings. Bucks need a win, and I think Tom Brady and the Bucks and that talent is just way too much for that poor secondary for the Vikings. I like Tampa Bay.
I like Tampa Bay as well for those reasons right there. I think Tampa Bay and Tom Brady are going to look like they're going to have an incredible passing attack, and we're going to go back to thinking that they're a Super Bowl contender. But they're not, America. They're not. Don't fall for the trap. Tampa Bay is not as good as they will look this week or when they play teams similar to Minnesota. They're not that good of a football team. Don't fall for it. I got Tampa Bay in this game, but Tampa Bay winning this game will not raise the Tampa Bay stock in my eyes. Denver at Carolina. This is the game where both teams are pretty much just can we just finish this season already? Denver has had a ton of quarterback trouble, and Carolina has had a lot of injuries this year. Matt Rule's doing a great job there. Who gets the job done Sunday, Denver or Carolina?
I like Carolina in this game. Teddy Bridgewater back. McCaffrey's back. Too much for the Broncos to handle.
I like it. I'm going to go ahead and roll with Carolina as well. I just think they have too much going on. I don't trust any quarterback with the ball in their hands from Denver. Tennessee at Jacksonville. Tennessee looking to get back on track after losing to the Browns last week. Jacksonville just looking to end the season as well. Who's getting this win? Also a divisional game. Tennessee, Jacksonville.
Tickets are $17, but Titans win this game convincingly. They're a 7.5-point favorite. They cover that easily.
Yeah, and they also have a stadium where I don't know what the company is. TIAA Bank Field. Oh, it's a bank. Okay, never mind. Wow, I'm a moron. Moving on. Indianapolis versus the Las Vegas Raiders. Who gets this win? The Indianapolis Colts with 95-year-old Phillip Rivers or the Las Vegas Raiders?
You asked me. Why are you asking me this? It's not the damn Raiders. They suck.
They're
lost.
pretty bad.
They almost lost to the freaking Jets.
But
the Colts
didn't.
win this one.
But they didn't.
Because Greg Williams
Cover 0!
tanked right in front of our eyes and lost his job. The Raiders are frauds. They are not a good football team, and the Colts are going to wipe them off the field in Vegas. And then they're going to go party somewhere in Vegas. I don't know. And the Raiders will go home and cry because they suck, and Derek Carr sucks.
Let me tell you a story. It's about the Indianapolis Colts going to Las Vegas. Phillip Rivers goes to the casino. He stays up too late. He gets his pizza poisoned. He's out for the game. He's not the quarterback anymore. You know who steps in? Jacoby Brissett. Once he comes in the game, everyone's going to lose it. Derek Carr throws for 5 touchdowns. Raiders win. No, the Raiders do win. It's going to be a low-scoring game. I think it's going to be just 2 offenses not knowing what to do with the ball. I got the Raiders.
Derek Carr couldn't even throw 5 touchdowns against the Jets.
Exactly.
Against an undrafted corner.
Well, he's a streaky quarterback.
He's a terrible quarterback. He's a garbage can. My God. Next.
New York at Seattle. Can New York sweep the Seattle this year? Can Team New York and the Giants and the Jets get back-to-back wins at Seattle?
No, and no.
All right.
Seahawks win this.
Seahawks win. Next game, Green Bay at Detroit, who has no coach and who is actually still in the playoff hunt at 5-7. Who do you got?
The Lions hosting at Ford Field are going to be in this game up until the coin flip and Aaron Rodgers gets the ball and the Packers roll this by 2 scores.
Agreed. Green Bay runs away with it. A.J. Hawk comes in and plays in the second half with a cigar in his mouth with Pat McAfee at wide receiver.
Yes.
New Orleans at Philadelphia, 4:25 at Lincoln Financial Field. Who gets the W? Taysom Hill and the New Orleans Saints, or Jalen Hurts, now the starting quarterback of Philadelphia?
Right. Last week I was pretty close on almost calling that Jets upset. I think this game right here is a trap game for the Saints. I think they'll win, but I will not be surprised if the Eagles keep it close and or beat the Saints this week.
I wouldn't be surprised if they kept it close. I would be surprised if they won. I'll take the Saints. Saints by 5. Atlanta at Los Angeles.
Chargers, ? Because these are both bad teams. I'll take the home team. They're 2.5-point dogs, though. Anthony Lynn's a dead man walking, though. My gosh. Change up. Sorry, Falcons.
I have the Falcons as well. Move on to the last game of the week. Washington at San Francisco. This is a huge game, and it wasn't a huge game until really this past weekend. Once they got that win over Pittsburgh, every game now that Washington plays for the remainder of the year, Mitch, will be big. And this is the big game this week against San Francisco. Washington versus San Francisco. Who do you have?
I like the Washington football team. I think they have a lot of confidence coming out of Pittsburgh, knocking off the unbeaten Steelers. This isn't a traditional home game for the Niners. They're playing in Arizona. I like Alex Smith and the football team to get another win.
I think you're absolutely right. Comeback player of the year. We forgot that on Tuesday. Alex Smith. Well, that was my pick for comeback player of the year was Alex Smith.
If anybody has a different pick, you're insane. That's all there is to it.
You're wrong if there's somebody else other than Alex Smith because he had to save his leg before he could play football again. It's just the reality.
He almost lost.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
He's like he almost ended up like that contestant from the Wipeout. Like that would have been bad. All right, moving on. We are done with our picks. We're gonna bring in our guest.
Wait. We have the Sunday Night Football game still.
No, we do not have the Steelers in the Buffalo Bills. You really want to talk about that game? All right, we're gonna talk about the Steelers and the Buffalo Bills. This is said to be the game of the week. Not in my eyes. Why would it be the game of the week? It's an 11-1 team against a 9-3 team, and could potentially shape everything that's going to happen atop the AFC. So it is the game of the week. Pittsburgh at Buffalo. Who do you got?
Nobody circles the wagon like the Buffalo Bills, and the Steelers are taking 2 L's in a row, and the Bills move to 10-3.
Love to hear it. I'm going to go ahead and take the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh gets back on track, beats Buffalo, puts them in their place, and we're going to see Josh Allen struggle again.
Wow.
Yep, we're going to see it again. So let's bring in Sam Summers with his picks. Guys, Sam Summers was 4-0 last week. That's right, 4-0. That's the number after 3. That means that if you would have bet on his games last week, you would have won a lot of money. Not telling you to bet on his games this week, but Sam Summers, everybody. Hello, Sam.
Ho, ho, ho. 9-3, baby. Let's go.
I don't know what's better, that hat or your shirt. Well, that's a lot of man right there.
There we go. Go Cavs. There we
go. Cavs.
That's a lot of man. So you were 4-0 with your picks last week. Feeling pretty good.
I'm feeling hot. I've been cold, but it's time to heat up. Every great downfall comes with a great rise, and here we go. We're 4-0. We're looking to keep things going. Mitch, you want me to go ahead and see my headline for this afternoon? You want me to roll into the picks?
Sam had another headline, Jordan. Last week, he provided us with a great headline about Joe Biden and breaking his foot playing with his dog, how it wasn't a good look for America. So I wanted Sam to have another opportunity for a headline. So, Sam, take it away.
Yeah, absolutely, gentlemen. I'm not sure if you've heard this. This came in the news, I believe, Tuesday. It's out of Israel. Former head of Israel's defense ministry, Haim Eshed. Do you guys hear this?
No.
He said that there is a galactic federation. Aliens have already been in our galaxy, and the USA is in cahoots with the aliens.
Cahoots?
We have a cahoots. We have a signed agreement that they are allowed to do experiments here. They're trying to better grasp our universe, and they are waiting for humanity to better understand space and space stations until they reveal themselves. Apparently, President Trump is aware of this information. He was going to spread awareness to the fact that aliens are with us, but was told not to, so he does not spread mass hysteria. This is unbelievable. I don't know what to think of it.
Wow. That's a lot.
I'm still trying to comprehend all that. All I know is there's aliens.
Kyrie's probably involved.
Yeah, and the guy who said that he is 87. He is
so trusted source, obviously, very trusted source. No way he's ever forgotten anything.
But you know what? With the implementation of Space Force, and you have these monoliths appearing in the middle of Utah, in the middle of Romania. Who knows? Yep. They could be very close, and they might be saying hello. Maybe an NFL team on the way.
Ooh, new NFL team.
I'd be down with that.
That would be interesting.
All right, Sammy. So your headlines are done. Let's go ahead and discuss your locks of the week. 4-0. You're on an all-time high right now. Go ahead.
I'll tell you what I have, boys. I got us a pick for tonight. We got a 1 p.m., a 4 p.m., a Sunday night, and a Monday night. Tonight, we're going to cover your balls. We're also going to cup your balls. I like Cooper Kupp over 61.5 receiving yards. That's the classic Belichick small white receiver. I don't think Belichick can scheme for a small white receiver. He loves him so much. Coop getting over 61.5 yards, no doubt. Moving on from that, we got a 1 p.m. This is the line I like the most this week. I like the Texans minus 1.5 over the Bears. The Bears defense quit on them versus the Lions. I believe they gave up 34 points. The Bears' offense isn't there, and the Texans, they want to win. They're a good team. They've been disrespected with their schedule this year. I like the Texans a lot. 4 p.m., I drafted up a 7-point teaser. We've got the Packers versus Lions. We got the Packers down to minus half of a point. They just need to win. I teased the Saints versus the Eagles. I've got the Saints just for a win. All they need to do is win. And then we teased the Chargers and Falcons over under 42. We're taking the over. So you're going to tease those three teams together. That looks like a lock in my eyes. I don't see the Packers losing. I don't see the Saints losing. Jalen Hurts is coming in, and I think Sean Payton's just going to demoralize Hurts. And neither the Chargers or Falcons play defense. The Falcons' secondary is abysmal. This game's going over 42 points. If it doesn't, I'll eat this hat.
Hold on. You will eat that hat next week if that goes over 42 points.
You know what? Yeah, mark my words. I'll put it in the oven. I'll put a little salt on it. If the Chargers and Falcons don't score over 42 points, I don't know what to say. I'll nibble at the hat. Mark my words. Put that down. Sunday night game. This is a good one. You know, we're rooting for our boys in Buffalo. We want a shot at the AFC North. I'm not sure if Buffalo's going to pull it off. You know, my roommates are from Buffalo, so I got to choose the Bills, but I'm choosing the over, 47.5 points. The Steelers' offense has been very shaky the last few weeks. The Bills' offense is phenomenal. Their defense is shaky. I think it's going to be a back-and-forth game decided by probably 2 points. I love the line here, and so let's just take the over. Let's root for a good game on Sunday night.
I like it.
And finally, Monday night, here we go. Biggest game in franchise history. Browns versus the Ravens. I love the Browns' money line, and I'm going to parlay that with the over. Again, Browns defense, they're going to allow probably 22, 23 points. That's a given. The Browns are going to probably, I'd say, 28 points on the Ravens. I like the Browns by maybe double digits in this game. I think the Browns are rolling, the Ravens are reeling, and I don't think it's going to change direction.
Giddy up.
Those are some phenomenal picks.
That's all I've got for this week. I'll be tracking my picks, tweeting out my glory, so you don't need to worry about that.
Giddy up. Well, Sam, thanks for coming on this Thursday edition of Cover Your Balls. Everybody, if you forgot his picks or you came in halfway through, go back, review his picks. He was 4-0 last week. If you would have bet with his picks, you'd have been, you wouldn't be watching this show right now. You'd be in the Bahamas. Sam, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. One more thing. You got a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Go Browns, baby.
See you, Sam.
That was the Sam Summers, fan favorite of the show, and looking to make a mark for a weekly appearance here from Sam Summers. He already asked to be back on next Thursday, Jordan.
Wow.
He said he has a surprise for us. If you guys are watching right now or when you're watching this, make sure you are tuned in next Thursday for Sam Summers' surprise. That's all I can say about that.
Giddy up. Mitch, well, you know what time it is?
I think I do.
Who has bigger balls?
Who has bigger balls? Is it Carol Baskin for killing her ex-husband? Is it Carol Baskin, or is it Lori Loughlin, the star from Full House, who was in the college admissions scandal, and who's going to be in jail now? So who's worse, Carol Baskin for killing her husband, Mitch, or is it Lori Loughlin for cheating to try to get her daughter into school?
Jordan, this is a no-brainer. It's Lori Loughlin.
Is it Lori Loughlin?
Carol Baskin was never convicted. Lori Loughlin, she got convicted. I mean, listen, Carol's got some big balls. I mean, I don't think it's how it's supposed to work, but
she
she
might
has some
actually
big balls.
have balls. She might.
She probably does have balls. But yeah, I mean, Lori Loughlin, at 1, got caught, 2, admitted it, and 3, she's going to jail now. So for that reason, since she got caught, she has bigger balls.
Yeah. And not only did Carol Baskin do what she did, but she was on Dancing with the Stars after it. Who has bigger balls? Obviously Carol Baskin, because she not only executed what she wanted to do, but she is still roaming free in the great state of, is it Oklahoma?
Oh, I thought it was Carolina.
No, it's Florida. Is it Florida? It's Florida. It's in Tampa. It's Tampa, Florida.
You know
because,
what? It's in the United States. That's all I know.
Yes, because D lived right by there, and I'm going to visit you one day, Carol Baskin. Carol Baskin, you have the biggest balls.
Carol Baskin kills it on the dance floor and then kills it in the household when she kills her husband.
Wow. Well, guys, thanks for coming in and tuning in for the 7th episode of Cover Your Balls. I'm Jordan McKelly. That's Mitch Balla. We're the Cover Your Ball crew. We'll see you next Tuesday. I'm not sure what day that is number-wise, but we'll see you then.
The 15th.
Man, the sun really put a shadow on the screen, didn't it, guys? This is wild. Look at me. Later.
God. Cover your balls. Go Browns.